All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into the incredible science that's hiding inside one of the tiniest vegetables you can imagine. I'm talking about broccoli sprouts. And believe me, it's a wild story of chemistry and some pretty eye-opening research. Okay, so let's just jump right in. What's the big deal with these little things? Well, it all starts with one, frankly, amazing fact that really explains why scientists are so interested in them. Get this. These tiny little sprouts, they're just a few days old, pack anywhere from 10 to 100 times more of a key health-promoting ingredient than a full-grown head of broccoli. That's not a typo, 10 to 100 times. That incredible concentration is exactly what makes them so special. So what is this stuff? The compound we're talking about is called sulforaphane, and it's a real powerhouse. It's so potent it can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. And what the research shows, is that it seems to flip on these protective switches inside our cells. You can see why researchers are all over this. So, how do we know any of this? Well, the story gets really interesting when you look at how scientists have put this to the test. One of the most talked about studies was a really groundbreaking one involving young men with autism. It was even published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. This wasn't just some casual observation either. It was a top-tier study from researchers at places like Harvard and Johns Hopkins, a proper placebo-controlled, double-blind trial. So some participants got an extract made from broccoli sprouts that was rich in sulforaphane, while the others got a placebo that looked exactly the same. Nobody knew who was getting what. Okay, and I have to pause here for a really important disclaimer. We are not medical professionals. This is just an explainer of the source material, and it is absolutely not medical advice. It's also really important to understand that this research, while fascinating, is preliminary. It's looking at improving certain symptoms, not, and I want to be crystal clear here, not suggesting this is a cure for autism. So what happened? Well, the results were pretty striking. The group that got the sulforaphane showed significant improvements in things like behavior, social interaction, and even verbal communication, way more than the placebo group. But here's a really key detail. About a month after they stopped taking it, those benefits started to fade away. Okay, so this sounds amazing, right? But here's the catch, and it's a big one. You can't just, pop a few sprouts in your mouth and swallow them whole and expect all this magic to happen. Nope. There's a little bit of chemistry that has to take place first. It's simple, but it is absolutely critical. The best way to think about it is like a glow stick. You know how a glow stick has two different liquids inside, separated by a little glass tube? Nothing happens until you snap it, right? When you break that barrier, the two chemicals mix, and bam, you get light. Broccoli sprouts work the exact same way. They have two ingredients stored separately, a precursor and an enzyme called myrosinase. The magic only happens when you chew or chop the sprouts, breaking down the plant's cell walls and letting those two ingredients mix together to create sulforaphane. And that little bit of chemistry is exactly why almost everyone recommends using real, fresh broccoli sprouts instead of pills. You might be thinking, well, the study used an extract, so why can't I just take a supplement? And it's a good question. The problem is, most supplements you can buy just don't have that active myronase enzyme. Without that enzyme, it's like a glow stick you can't crack. The reaction just doesn't happen. You get little to no sulforaphane at all. So if the real magic is in the fresh sprouts, and you have to chew or chop them to unlock it, how do you actually do this? How do you work this into your daily life? All right, let's get practical. Here's your sprout playbook. First things first, you've got to get the right stuff. And it has to be broccoli sprouts. I'm talking specifically broccoli sprouts. Those other sprouts you see in the grocery store, alfalfa sprouts, bean sprouts, they won't work. They just don't have the necessary ingredients to create sulforaphane. So you have to look for broccoli sprouts specifically. All right, so how much are we talking about? Let's look at the dosage. In the studies, they based it on body weight, which for most people works out to about 1 to 3 tablespoons of fresh sprouts a day. And, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's that important, they have to be well chewed or chopped up. That physical action is what starts the whole chemical reaction we've been talking about. So how do you actually eat them? Let's be real for a second. They have a pretty strong peppery taste. Not everyone loves it, but this is where you can get creative. People have found all sorts of ways to get them down. You can blend them into a smoothie. You won't even taste them. You can mix them into yogurt, maybe some buttermilk, toss them on a salad or a sandwich. You can even stir them into a wrap or mix them with jam to completely hide the flavor. So we've covered the amazing science. We've looked at the research, and we've gone through the practical playbook. That really just brings us to one final thought, a little challenge, if you will. Okay, so now you know the why and you know the how. The question really isn't about the science anymore, is it? It's about what you do with this information. So here's our challenge for you. How can you get a tablespoon of broccoli sprouts into your diet and maybe even into the diet of your loved ones?